Jim Walton, where are you? Come on up, Jim. All right, Jim. Jim Walton.
This is from a little Folk Tales of Ireland, edited and translated by Sean O'Sullivan. And the title of this is 2 Women or 12 Men. There was a fox that had 3 young ones, and when the time came to teach them how to fend for themselves, the old fox took them to a house. There was a great talk going on inside the house. He asked the first 2 young ones if they could tell him who was in the house. They couldn't. Then he tried the third. Who was inside? Asked the old fox. Either 2 women or 12 men, said the young one. You do well in the world, said the old fox. I don't know a shorter story. I don't know if I can read with this in my mouth or not, but I'll try. The bad boy of English letters is Robert Graves. Nobody ever reads them. Well, some people read them in the privacy of their own homes when nobody else knows. But he wrote quite a few poems, and some of you don't know he was killed in World War I, and he lived to tell the tale. This is actually true. He was shot through the breast and left for dead. And his relatives were all notified that he had died in the war. And then somehow he came through the hospital and went home and surprised his mom. He wrote this poem. It's called The Bards. He was half Irish. His mother was German. The bards falter in shame. Their running verse stumbles. With marrow bones, the drunken diners pelt them for their delay. It is something fearful in the song plagues them, an unknown grief that like a churl goes commonplace in cowskin and bursts unheralded, crowing and coughing. An unpilled holy club twirled in his hand into their many-shielded, samite-curtained, jewel-bright hall where 12 kings sit at chess. Over the white bronze pieces of the gold, and by a gross enchantment flails down the rafters and leads off the queens, the wild swan-breasted, the rosy ruddy-cheeked, raven-haired daughters of their admiration, to stir his black pots and to bed on straw. And this poem is titled Hell. Husks, rags and bones, waste paper, excrement, denied a soul, whether for good or evil, and casually consigned to unfulfillment, are pronged into this bag by the great devil. Or words repeated over and over and over until their sense sickens and all but dies, these the same fellow, like a ghoulish lover, will lay his hands upon and hypnotize. From husks and rags and waste and excrement he forms the pavement feet and the lift faces. He steers the sick words into Parliament to rule a dustbin world with deep sleep phrases. When healthy words or people chance to dine together in this rarely actual scene, there is a love taste in the bread and wine, nor is it asked, do you mean what you mean? But to their table converse boldly comes the same great devil with his brush and tray to conjure plump loaves from the scattered crumbs and feed his false 5,000s day by day. Anybody been listening to the radio lately? And the man was not without wit, though he was a serious poet. He wrote this poem, Down, Wanton, Down. Down, wanton, down, have you no shame that at the whisper of love's name or beauty's, presto, up you rise, your angry head, and stand at gaze? Poor bombard captain sworn to reach the ravelin and effect a breach, indifferent that you storm or why, so be that in the breach you die. Love may be blind, but love at least knows what is man and what mere beast, or beauty wayward but requires more delicacy from her squires. Tell me, my witless, whose one boast could be your staunchness at the post, when were you made a man of parts to think fine and profess the arts? Will many-gifted beauty come, bowing to your bald rule of thumb, or love swear loyalty to your crown? Begone, have done. Down, wanton, down. And this is maybe my favorite of all Graves' poems. It's called To Walk on Hills. It's not a poem against dishonesty. It's not a poem against war. It's not a poem of lust, or especially even of wit, but it's a delightful piece of work. To walk on hills is to employ legs as porters of the head and heart, jointly adventuring towards, perhaps, true equanimity. To walk on hills is to see sights and to hear sounds unfamiliar. When in wind and pine tree roars, when crags with bleatings echo, when water foams below the fall, heart records that journey as memorable indeed. Head reserves opinion, confused by the wind. A view of 3 shires and the sea seldom so much at once appears on the colored world, says heart. Head is glum, says nothing. Legs become weary, halting, to sprawl in a rock's shelter, while the sun drowsily blinks on head at last brought low, this giddied passenger of legs that has no word to utter. Heart does double duty, as heart and as head. With portentous trifling, a castle on its crag perched across the miles between is viewed with awe as across years. Now a daisy pleases and astounds even, that on a garden lawn could blow all summer long with no esteem. And the buzzard's cruel poise, and the plover's misery, and the important beetle's blue-green shiny back. To walk on hills is to employ legs and to march away and lose the day. Tell us, have you known shepherds? And are not they a witless race, prone to quaint visions? Not thus from solitude. Solitude sobers only, but from long hilltop striding. And I'll close with this, Never Such Love, because it's another delightful, witty little piece. Twined together, and, as is customary, for words of rapture groping, they never such love swore ever before was. Contrast with all loves that had failed or staled, registered their own as love indeed. And was this not to blab idly the heart's fated inconstancy? Better in love to seal the love-sure lips, for truly love was before words were, and no word given, no word broken. When the name love is uttered, love, the near honorable malady with which in greed and haste they each other do infect and curse, or worse, is written down, wise after the event, by love withered, a nevermore, most frantically, sorrow and shame would proclaim, such as they'd swear never before were true lovers, even in this.